The Arena Sports Show where passion speaks, stories inspire, and nothing is off limits. My name is Clauiee Grace Mpanza. Absolutely excited to have you alongside us. Always with us is my favorite influencer, Mahlatse Mphahlele, who joins us feeling restored after a lovely holiday, after taking, of course, a short lift down to Durban. But looking into today's episode, I'm absolutely excited because the theme is one that is quite close to my heart, and that is overcoming battles and fighting for your dreams. While our guests, they embody that, we'll start off our conversation with a gentleman. When he was a kid, he made cars out of wires. He then went on to teach himself how to drive, illegally so, we need to add that, and then went on to teach his mother how to drive. He tried out racing, of course, first off, as of course in the Kart Max series, but decided because he doesn't want to be bankrupt, well, he sold the kart. A few years later, well, the motorsport bug still lives on as he races in the Southern African Endurance Series. Fikile Holomisa joins us today, and here's a voice for transformation in motorsport South Africa. And of course, we'll then switch things up from motorsport to all things football with one of my favorite former goalkeepers, Brighton Mhlongo. We'll talk all things the Engine Knockout Challenge. And one thing that I know a lot of you have been saying on X is that we need Brighton to account for what he said about Mamelodi Sundowns, that they're not going to win the league. A lot of you saying that, hey, but he wears spectacles, so maybe he doesn't see. So we'll also get a response from him about that. But let's first find out how my panel is doing before we get into our features of the show. Influencer, yes. I mean, you're glowing. How is Durban? How you doing?
The only thing I can say is that Durban agrees with me. Yeah, it was. I had a good time. Short, but good. I'm back into, and now when I'm back, I didn't know you were bringing me Mr. Holomisa himself here.
Listen, we bring the big guys.
Yeah, at least the big guys.
Yeah, you have to only bring big guns here. But Fix, thank you for joining us. How are you holding up?
I'm good, ma'am. Can't complain. And how are you?
Oh, you forgot to ask how I'm doing. Look at that.
No, I left it to him.
Oh, you left it to the guest must ask. Yeah. I'm good. Thank you for asking. But we've got so much to talk about. We'll get to profile Fix in just a bit. Let's first find out what's been happening in your top stories.
Springboks are back in action this week with the Qatar Airways Cup match against the Barbarians in Cape Town before they turn attention to the back-to-back clashes against Italy and the rest of the international season. Banyana Banyana coach Desiree Ellis has announced a 26-player squad for next month's WAFCON, but without star striker Timpi Kgatlana, who withdrew due to personal reasons. Cricket South Africa has thanked the people of South Africa for overwhelming support shown following the historic ICC World Test Championship triumph at Lord's Cricket Ground against Australia recently.
It always makes it a tad difficult to try and choose star of the week. I'll start this time around. My star of the week is Marc Marquez, who's been absolutely phenomenal. Went on to clinch his 93rd victory at the Italian Grand Prix, which is absolutely fantastic. And he had a super weekend from pole to winning the sprint. So he's just cruising very nicely at Ducati this year. So I absolutely love seeing him, of course, back in his winning ways. We do know, of course, the machine that Marc Marquez is. Influencer, who has impressed you?
I'm going with Tembi Ngosiloch.
Ooh, Nyoso.
Yeah, he has caught my eye, not only me. I think he has been in the headlines for the right reasons. The Club World Cup for Wydad, good performances. And I think I'll pick him as my star of the week. I think he has done very well for himself for the matches that he played the Club World Cup so far.
So do you see him also going overseas? I know a lot of people are saying, no man, he must go, it's time. But there's the age factor.
South African football fans, when something good happens overseas and stuff, I don't think he can go overseas, but at his age, I don't think he'll go to a big club. He may go to a so-called smaller country or smaller club.
Yeah.
But I think if he stays at Wydad, maybe that way, he can continue to play very well. And people must remember, he's still a Sundowns player. I don't know if what he has done now will be enough to convince Sundowns to bring him back to continue playing for Sundowns. There's also been the issue of Mshishi sort of coming to the end of his career. And if he also can continue to play the way he's been playing now, maybe a potential replacement for Mshishi, maybe in the short term, but you still have got Jaden Adams there, who has been seen as sort of the long-term replacement. So Quite some interesting decisions for him, for his future. But I would say he must stay with that, try and help them to get back in the Champions League next season.
All right, you let us know what you think. Fix, who's your star of the week?
I don't have a star. I would say I have stars. The Proteas, for what they've done, they've made us proud.
Yeah.
After so many years of calling them chokers.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that tag is gone now.
No, it's absolutely gone. You know who still holds the tag, though, for being a choker? That's Arsenal, your football club. But I mean, getting into your life, Fix, when we start off the show, I mentioned you building cars made out of wire. I'm really interested in your love for motorsport, how it came about, and really the area that you grew up in.
I grew up in the Transkei, in a small village from Mqanduli. I mean, at the time, we were not exposed to TV or anything. We were completely isolated, and we didn't have toys, so we had to make our own. And fortunately, one could build their own cars, so we did our own racing in the community. So yeah, we had to do everything our own. We had no exposure to a lot of things that the young kids have today.
Did you have TV?
No, we didn't have TV. They
Oh,
only
goodness
had TV around 1987. But before that, it was only radio. And we had to listen to boxing on radio. You can imagine having to listen to an announcer saying left, right. You don't even know who's being punched. So that's how we grew up. Even soccer, we listened on radio. I remember there were times where Chiefs were to come down to play with pushbacks. And then the announcers would say Chiefs is facing the University of Transkei, and then pushbacks is facing the Lokshin. You don't have an idea what they're talking about, but you had to listen because of the interest in the sport.
Is that how the Chiefs love comes from?
Yeah,
Seeing them,
that's the first
Transkei?
team I knew of, amongst others at the time. But yeah, I have loved them. I still love them, even though they are hurting me a lot these days. But the love hasn't gone away. Yeah. So I'm still a big fan. But I just think that they really need to treat us as clients, not as followers. So they need to really look at what the clientele is looking for. We may be loyal customers, but there are some that may change. So, but they really need to treat us as such.
Are you happy they're keeping the coach? Because there's been quite an issue there.
Well, I believe in giving people chances. So I think if they keep him, they have given him time to correct all the mistakes that he may have done. But you can give him so much time,
And by the way, before Clauiee comes in, I've been a few times at Independence Stadium back in the day.
I knew you guys were
Okay.
age mates. I knew it.
to watch Imbabala there, the Lifa Kosha.
Yes. Okay.
Patrick Mayo.
The twins were still there.
Wilfred and the Mugay brothers.
Yeah.
Nigel Dixon, the goalkeeper.
Yes.
Yeah, that was the day. Sturu Pasia as the chairman of the club.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Your independence. That was the slaughterhouse. Teams
Yeah.
didn't come back from the stadium. So yeah, I've got vivid memories of those days.
I also got bad memories of our team not surviving. But I still had fun because the local team had won. But yeah,
It's such
Those
a
are
cute
the days.
moment.
We have just
I love it
exposed
for you
our
guys.
ages now here.
No,
which
you
is-
really have.
yeah.
But I mean, staying quickly with Kaizer Chiefs, influencer always, we always have this debate about the quality of players currently at Kaizer Chiefs, if they are Kaizer Chiefs material, and having supported the club as many years as you have, this current crop of players, do you think they are Kaizer Chiefs material?
I wouldn't say they aren't Kaizer Chiefs material, but I think the pride that the old players used to carry if you're playing for a team like Kaizer Chiefs, they knew that they need to carry that with them on and outside of the field. But I do think these young guys, they are only Chiefs players when they are on the field, but outside of the field, they don't really care, I think they need to carry that pride with them to say that I'm a Chiefs player and
For sure.
I play for Chiefs and I've got people that are watching me. And back then, it was not easy to change teams, to just move from one Chiefs to another team. But today, they can play for any other team they want to play for. So it's not in their hearts to be a Chiefs player. It's just the jersey when you're on the field. Then outside the field, you're not. You could be anything. So I think that's what the difference is today. But that's my view, and I stick to it.
And you stick to it. All right, cool. Back to motorsport. Kart Max series is where you sold your kart after you decided that you don't want to be bankrupt. Talk to us about that period in your life when you got into motorsports then officially, and then the decision to sell your kart.
Well, I had always had interest in motorsport, and if you know Chops Sepuka, I used to follow him. When he raced in Sword Corps or Kyalami back then on the Polo Cup, I used to go and watch the races. He introduced me to Terry Moss, who was his manager at the time, and I showed interest. And unfortunately, because I was based in Johannesburg, I couldn't have time to get a test or practice under Terry. Terry introduced me to a friend of his at the time, who was an agent for Tony Kart, Greg Mitchell. He said, "You must put me on a kart, see how things go." Yes, we did that at Kyalami, and then he saw that there was potential. I then bought a Tony Kart and had the Rotex Max Cup at the time. That was 2006. We went for a practice at Sword Corps. They were having a race there, but I didn't race that weekend. I just practiced on Friday. Then we went to Vereeniging. There was a regional race. Again, on Friday, I practiced and was ready to race the Saturday, but it was raining. But I didn't have wet tires, so I couldn't race. But what really put me off the sport was on a Tuesday, I received an email from Greg's PA. There were costs of 7,000 rands for the weekend. I said, I phoned and said, maybe I have sent this to the right person. They said yes. They itemized the bill, and it amounted to 7,000, excluding the race. If I had raced that Saturday, I think it would have been more than 10,000 or even close to 20,000. The fact that they charged me 7,000 rands for being there on a Friday. That's when I realized that the sport is not for me. I was just a young engineer working at the time, relying on a salary. There was no way I could have afforded 7,000 rands minimum on a weekly basis whenever there was a race. So I thought, okay, this is the end. I asked him to sell my kart, and he can take his 7,000 rands from the proceeds of the kart, and then he must give me the balance. That's where it ended.
Do you think that's an impediment? So maybe for mainly black people who want to enter the sport, maybe just the cost of doing this stuff?
I wouldn't say it's only black people, but everyone that cannot afford the sport, it requires deep pockets to be able to enter into the sport. But you know that black people are disadvantaged in many ways. So getting into motorsport it's not easy. There are more important things that we need to look at before spending money on motorsport. You know, we have responsibilities that many other cultures don't have. You know, so that's the biggest impediment on our side.
And then being a qualified mechanical engineer, how's your relationship with your mechanics? Because now I'm interested, if I've studied a sport, I'm thinking maybe I'd have, an opinion. You listen to, former mechanics, engineers talk about a Michael Schumacher and how involved he was in his teams and just, talking to the guys, how he wants his car to be set up, how the car feels. How is it for you with your relationship and your mechanics?
I have a good relationship with our mechanics, and that my interaction is giving them feedback on how I feel about the car, how I want them to set up the car. I don't do the actual work. I let them do what they know. But my feedback is important in them getting to do what I want.
Yeah.
And my background does help me in providing that kind of feedback and also giving guidance on how I would like to see things being done. But in terms of taking the span and doing the work myself, no, I don't. I leave it to them. They are trained to do that. Mine is to give them feedback to say, I would like to have this 1, 2, 3 done on the vehicle.
And then what do you prioritize in a race weekend, especially in endurance racing, because it's really hours and hours of racing. Soon at the end of the year, you'll be doing the 9 hours in Kyalami. But what do you look for first? Would it be the speed, the balance, or the braking? What do you prioritize in a race weekend?
It's the setup of the vehicle, but mainly the brakes are quite important for us. I think one of the first things I've learned, I mean, I started this 3 years ago and I was very old at the time with kids, so I always think about what could happen if something would go wrong in the sport, would look after my kids and all that. So I'm very cautious. It's not like the olden days when I was young, I could do things. Now I'm a bit cautious. But one of the boys that I spoke to at the time in 2022, when we did the 9 hour, my first race, he said I must trust the brakes. And I asked him, what do you mean trust the brakes? He said, these cars don't have traction control, don't have ABS, they've got nothing.
Yeah.
The only thing that you can rely on to make sure that it works are the brakes, because when the time you need to stop, it must be able to stop.
For sure.
So I've always carried that with me, and even in my learnings in this thing, I have to make sure that the brakes are working, because every second you gain, it's based on at what point do you brake. You brake early, you lose time. The later you brake, the more time that you can gain per lap. So yeah, over and above the setup, the brakes are quite important. You are comfortable when you're driving.
For sure.
If you know that the car is going to brake when you want to brake.
I mean, you mentioned your age, and yes, you did start in your 40s. I'm interested to find out then how is it adjusting racing? And I ask this because I remember conversing with this other lady, and she was just talking about how she had bruises in her first race. She was just like hurt a lot. So now for you adapting and really getting used to driving at high speed, what adjustments did you have to do to make sure that you can perform on race weekends?
I think it's more the fitness, the mental fitness, and also the physical fitness.
Yeah.
I do a bit of running to keep fit. I do visit Virgin Active every now and then.
He just started joining the gym this year, by the way.
I've also started running as well. I mean, we've also got a running team as part of Team Kubani to ensure that we keep fit, we keep healthy. It's quite important, because there's a lot of concentration that's required when you are behind the wheel. You cannot be thinking about many things, but to think about the car that you're driving and the other competitors around you. It's not just your safety, it's the safety of others around you as well. So you need to be mentally fit and physically fit as well, to be able to, because endurance is not 10 laps, it's hundreds of laps that you do. That requires concentration. If you lose concentration, you're going to find yourself on the tires.
Do you get coaching for that, or something that you need to do?
There's no coaching, except you ask questions from the most experienced racers, the guys that have been doing this. I mean, most of the guys that we race with, they've been doing this for over 30 years, some 50 years. They've got experience. There are certain situations that they've encountered which we haven't.
Yeah.
So every now and then you try and ask questions. How can you improve? But there's no time to practice. You only get a car on the Friday before the race. That's when you practice. It's not like soccer in the afternoon, or you can go and play at any ground. You need the car to go to a track to practice, and that is not something that is at our disposal. So there's no coaching. That's the answer. But you can get people to give you advice. it's up to you if you use the advice that they give you.
And the pace of transformation in the sport, I think, is something that we can't really talk enough about.
Sure, it's very difficult. It's not like the days where Chops was still racing involved in the Engine Polo Cup, where you had the likes of Engine, Total, all the fuel companies were involved in the sport. They supported the sport as there was sponsorships. Mainly today, it's more people that run their own businesses. They use their own businesses to support the motorsport. The corporate somebody needs to convince corporate that having a car that is on the track, it is more like a billboard, a moving billboard. And also, it's important that there's viewership for all the races, so that you can be able to sell whoever is supporting you on the sport. So for as long as we don't have corporate guys that are willing to invest on the sport and support young and upcoming kids to get involved, it's going to be very difficult.
Yeah. I mean, you started involving your son in terms of bringing him into motorsport. He's tried the same. You were crying about the cost to getting him involved. But how has your relationship with, of course, your son and really making him love the sport?
Well, I didn't make him love the sport. He loved the sport. He attended all my races. And with his involvement, he wanted to be a mechanic. He wanted to work on the vehicle. Because there was a time where our vehicle was giving us problems, and he felt the need that he wants to understand what the issues are. Can he sort out those issues with the mechanics? So one race we had at Red Star, he spoke to Barend. Barend was quite quick on the day. He went and asked him, so why is your car quicker than my dad's car? And with that interaction they had, Barend said, no, it's not the car, it's the dad that is slow. So for the car to be fast, you can get involved, start at a very young age, and then that's where the conversation started.
Yeah.
I'm in the situation where I am now, where I have to spend lots of money on him because of Barend Pretorius, who advised him that he needs to start at a very young age to do that. So I said, well, if he can assist him, coach him, and then I'm happy to help him. So that's how we got into the sport.
Yeah.
All right, just on a lighter note from my side, I've been reliably told that you are a blood relative of the General Mhlongo Holomisa.
Told by who?
Well, I'm not sure
If my sources are correct, but
and what you guys were discussing, but that could have been a reliable source. It is indeed true that yes, he is a younger brother to my dad. Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. I don't want to ask you which political party you vote for, but yeah, I guess that will be a discussion for another day.
You can ask me about which Formula One team I'm supporting, not
Yes,
politics.
yes, yeah.
All right, cool. Then just to wrap it up, I mean, going forward, the rest of the year, what is it looking like for Team Kobani? And maybe, did you see the slogan, by the way, influencer? No, you can't see it. It's
Oh.
Is he the-
okay. Do you want to tell him, Fix?
Yeah.
Well, it says when we don't drive cars, we run the streets, meaning that when we're not on the track driving cars, we're running the street, meaning that keep getting fit. And when we're not running the streets, it means we are on the track.
No, that's a good one.
Yeah, no,
I may
right.
adopt it.
Yeah, you
Because
should.
I'm also running the streets, you know. So.
Yeah.
Which streets are you running, my guy?
Yeah.
Oh, those streets. I thought you meant the
No,
other
no,
street.
no, the other one.
All right, cool. Your favorite track? We've got Kyalami coming up in SAES. Is it Kyalami? And I mean, there's big talks right now with Kyalami, with Formula One coming back to South Africa, having raced in the track as well. Maybe talk to us about the track from a driver's perspective.
You asked the favorite track, or do I love Kyalami?
You can tell me two. So your favorite track is
My
one.
favorite track is London. Unfortunately, we no longer do East London
Yeah.
because of its current condition. But hopefully one day we'll go back there. But that's my favorite track. Yes, Kyalami is very technical, and it's a prestige track. To race there, you feel like you have arrived. You know, it's a place where I used to go and watch chops. I never thought I would be one racing there. Now, yeah, I'm racing now. I'm amongst the most experienced guys,
For sure.
well-known racers in the country and in the world. But what makes me feel good is when you pass or you beat an experienced driver. I mean, I've only had 3 years of racing, and when you do better than someone who's been there for 35 years, you feel very good.
Yeah.
I mean, we're fighting over a second or 2 seconds, something that they've built over so many years. Now we can proudly say, no, okay, 2 seconds, I'll do better next time.
Small margins in this case.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Sounds like a small margin, but if you add 2 seconds over 100 laps, then it becomes a big deal. But we are very proud of having said now we are very close to being part of them.
Yeah, no. Lastly, the state of motorsport in South Africa, in your opinion, and the young talent that you've seen in the country?
Yes, we've got young guys, and even in my team, we've got 2 young guys that are part of the team Kuban. I do hope that we could continue to get support to ensure that they progress, and maybe one day Zonke can join them, be part of the team as a young racer. We can only appeal to corporate to support motorsport, because it's not an easy sport that that anybody can just join. You need somebody to back you up if you don't have the necessary resources to do that on your own. But there's a lot of young talent out there.
Yeah.
In the Rotex Max, the Bambinos, it is more than 60%. It's young black boys that are racing there. So it's really promising, and I do hope that God can assist us as parents to ensure that those kids can continue to race until they get to a level where they are racing cars on the track.
The good thing is that Minister Gaten McKenzie is passionate about the sport.
Yeah.
Maybe he must go and knock at his door. You'll never know.
I think the challenge about government having to support motorsport is that it's an individual sport. It's not a team sport. That's where they may have difficulties, but they need to find ways of dealing with this. The development could be a group, yes, but to now go and support Fikile and Team Kuban as government, it may be viewed that you are picking on an individual than building motorsport.
More so that Mr. Holomisa is in the government of Mr.
No.
That makes this
He has his own brand as a politician. We have our own brand as racers.
But you know they'll find the link.
You're out of order, comrade.
One of the GNU.
Fix your favorite Formula 1 team?
It's Ferrari. It has always been Ferrari. Like, I mean, car chips. I mean, at some point growing up, I drove at a very young age, driving my mom's buggy.
Yeah.
And apparently somebody must have had on radio someone talking about racing where there was Schumacher and Mika Hakkinen and all that. But he didn't pronounce Schumacher as Schumacher, he said Schumacher. So I was called Schumacher. So I've always... So I've always loved Ferrari because of Schumacher.
Brasku, I love it. No, I'm using that as a nickname now.
No. That was back then.
It's a different story now.
But Vic, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah,
we
nice.
really appreciate it. Lovely chat, and thank you for enlightening us into, of course, what happens in, of course, your space in motorsports.
No, thank you for having us. We do hope that we'll continue to be part of the sport and make a mark as we have done so far.
Definitely, they'll do
I'll
so.
make time to come and watch one of these days, but she doesn't
Please
invite
come
me.
to Kyalami on the
She
20.
doesn't invite
Kalam is on the 26th of
Yes, on the
me.
26th.
of July.
Yes.
You'll be there.
I'll put it on in my diary.
All right, we'll see you then. And
So I'm team Kuban.
So you're Team Mqubani.
That's my team.
I'm Team SA, yes. Cool. On that note, then let's switch it over to talk all things football with the Brighton Mhlongo. Well, we switch all things to talk things football now. One of my favorite human beings. Sometimes he's called Spaghetti. He's called Young Spider. At some point, I think it was Braniko. I don't know if it's still Braniko. I call him Shiva. Brighton Mhlongo. A pleasure having you alongside us. How you doing?
I'm great, man. Thank you so much for for the invite once again.
Yeah.
It feels like home, and it's always great, man, being amongst the greatest here. So when you're in the midst of greatness, no, you are too relaxed. Yeah.
We are happy to have you, and I'm sure people on X are jumping up and down when they see your name because they've been coming at us, Shiva. Like, can I read some of the comments that they've been saying? Because I know you're not an X.
Ish.
And we'll give you context in just a bit. Yellowman says, I've bookmarked this. We can struggle on all other, but the league is our type of marathon. We're getting somewhere. Mulash says that when are they going to accept that Sundowns will win this league for more than 10 seasons, right? And then Mr. Mbele says, Clauiee, Mahlatse, please interview Brighton again and ask him what happened.
Yeah, he is.
So to give you context, about a year ago, I think, Shiva, we were talking about the league, and you said you don't see Mamelodi Sundowns winning it. And here are people a year later saying,
man.
Brighton, what has happened?
The internet does not forget.
They don't forget,
It
bro.
forget. And I can see Mahlatse the way he's sitting right now. He's been waiting for me. He's like, no, listen. Sundowns, they've shown why they are the biggest club, not only in South Africa, but also in the continent, This is the team that has shown some different class, different pedigree. They know how to win. They know how to get results.
Yeah.
And again, without me being political or diverting, I got it wrong. I was blindsided by the fact that Pirates had a great season.
Yes.
For the past 2-3 seasons, Pirates have been wrapping up on a high. Also, I wouldn't say, yes, the margin of the points have been, it's been a huge gap. However, performance-wise, and Pirates managing to win a trophy or two every season ahead of Sundowns, for me, I deemed that as a good progression phase for them, which gave me so much confidence to going into the last season, where I thought, okay, this is the season where Pirates is probably, going to turn things around and end that dominance. And unfortunately, Kabuyelo.
Oh, Masanda.
No, so I Masanda. But again, it's my blood is black and white.
Yes, once and
it'll always
always
be like that.
Yeah.
So there's always that thing where you always want to say. There's always room for hope. You must hope. Just keep hoping. And I know sometimes even the fans of Arsenal, they say it's the hope that kills.
Yes.
But you hold on to that hope. You hold on to that hope.
He knows very well. He's an Arsenal fan.
Yeah, you hold on to that hope, Mahlatse, and then hopefully one day. Next season. We're like,
again.
what, Netflix, eh? Yeah. We can't wait for next season. Yeah, Lerona. So again, I'm still saying this season again, no.
You're hopeful.
I'm hopeful that Pirates will do something.
But I guess that's what makes it interesting because it's predictions and it's
Sure.
it's
For
part of the
sure.
banter and
Sure.
all the stuff. When we analyze, you get it right, you get it wrong, and then we move on. Sometimes it's really not that deep, people are emotional and all this stuff.
And we understand, and we understand them. Hence we are able to come back here again and take it again. But again, I love what Mahlatse is saying, Marty. It's banter, it's predictions. That's what makes football exciting. Yeah, and we coming here also as people who love football, and we love these respective teams as well, to say there's something that we're seeing. And maybe the pressure that we're putting out there when you speak to the universe, it also forms as a motivation, because I'm not going to lie to you, as a footballer, also these kind of conversations used to inspire us. I remember when we lost Telkom, before the Telkom final, when we played during that trouble season, we lost to Vets horribly, remember? Where we lost 3-1 to Vets, Ryan Chapman, then they started saying a whole lot of things. Believe you me, when we went to the cup final, the Telkom, we had all those articles plastered got a dressing room.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
As part of motivation.
As part of motivation. So
Yeah.
this alone also, when we're talking like this, we're probably motivating other teams to say, hey guys, this dominance needs to
And
end.
things change. I mean,
Sure.
at that time when you said what you said, Parrot looked like, they
Solid.
may be onto
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
And dynamics change, and obviously, you said you
So
must.
can I still say it again today?
What are you saying? What are you saying? Please tell us.
No,
Say it. What are you saying, Shiva?
no.
If you go there, I'm not gonna defend you this time.
So Barry, a wise man can always change his mind, right? I no, it's still very early and sketchy right now. So there's excitement both camps. There's excitement Club World Cup with the performances. Even though I'm like, hey, we struggled.
I actually want us to talk about that a little bit before we go anywhere further. The Club World Cup, Mamelodi Sundowns. And I mean, you're seeing the rest of the world, they're so excited about this Brazilian flair that's coming from South Africa. And they really are representing. Yes, they didn't get the result they wanted against Borussia Dortmund, but it's the performance that hard to almost pull off a heist. They almost did.
Yeah.
They just didn't. But I mean, in terms of the style of play, the attack, them not parking the bus, it was just an exciting match to watch. What have you made of the Sundowns side, and really now look into the other African teams in the Club World Cup?
Look, I honestly believe that Sundowns are a different class.
Yeah.
And if people are excited with what we've been witnessing at the Club World Cup, especially with Sundowns performances, we've seen better from Sundowns. For me personally, I think the challenge would be, I want Sundowns to go to the next round, to the knockout phase, because of the pedigree that and the style of play, the dominance, whichever opposition they play against. The ball retention is good, the attacking flair that you spoke about. The class, the aura of that team alone when they walk into the field, you can tell that this is a big team on its own. So. I think as South Africans and as Africans, maybe Mahlatse, you can weigh in on this one. It's high time we hold ourselves of high esteem, because we've shown in the past. We've shown in the World Cups with Morocco. We've shown with Senegal going into the World Cup, winning games, dominating other European teams. It's there.
Sidebar, when I saw Bono pull off what Bono did, I'm like, I remember watching the World Cup with you. And
Exactly. And I've
So
been
you've been
saying about Bono. I've
yeah.
been saying that this is one keeper that I know any given day he'll rise up. So we've seen that even with Wydad, we've seen with Al-Ahly. These are teams that can compete at the highest level. So it's high time we believe that Africa is blessed in abundance when it comes to talent and the class. And how do we do that? When we get into these stages, we don't come in as underdogs anymore. We need to boost the confidence, because these are games that we can win. With the Borussia Dortmund game, for me personally, I feel like, yes, we were saying it was close and whatnot. We could have won that game. We could have, listen to me being patriotic, we could have won
They're going
that
to
game,
bet you for that now.
But personally, I it's because of the class that we post. We
100%.
have, when we look at pound for pound, even the players, quality for quality. In fact, you look at the Sundowns players, most of them, they're better than the players that were playing, some of them.
Yeah, also just to add, I think gone are the days where African teams will go to this tournament and lose badly.
Yeah.
I know there's been matches here and there where the score suggested otherwise.
But it's not a true reflection.
It's not
of-
true
Yeah.
reflection of the match, because on the field our guys trying to play. The players are becoming better.
Sure.
The gap is closing, and I think it's also we must give credit to the quality of the Champions League on the continent.
True.
Because the teams that are consistently playing knockout stage of Champions League are becoming better.
Yeah.
And also you can see now, look at Al-Ahly now. They've been able to recruit players who are coming from Europe to come back and play in the domestic league. So the gap is closing. We are not quite there yet in terms of maybe quality to that extent.
Don't you think it's the mentality, probably? Because
Probably maybe it's the mentality.
my concern is that, Mahlatse, and sorry to interject on that one. For me, I believe personally that it's more on the psyche part of things now, more than anything else. We've seen that, okay, we can match when it comes to the technical ability. Tactical ability, we're getting better as well. Even with our coaches have improved. They, you know, they're getting the badges. They're starting to explore. They're starting to coach different leagues, you know, and when they bring their wealth of experience together, you can see on the field of play that the training has improved. You know, it's no longer that thing, us getting 11v11, as Tatane Matota. Now there's quality. You know, I see an 11v11 Matota, Skurasheni. You know, now you can see that there's this tactical acumen that is coming to our football now, which is it was so beautiful to watch Lodge, how he has improved tactically, how he knows the zones, how he knows how to capitalize and utilize certain spaces, how he's playing positive football as opposed to, I have never seen Lodge playing so many forward passes more than anything else. And taking shots. And most importantly, we're seeing him now coming out of the shell, where now he's more confrontational, you know, even with his teammates. You know, he's more eager. You know, and it's not only Lodge, but most these teams, what you are seeing, even with Mamelodi Sundowns, we saw the mistakes that Debza made, Ronwen made. And after those mistakes, it would have been it's okay. It was expected. But you could see how there's a picture that we saw was circulating Yaga Debza, where he was screaming and fuming, you know, because he knows the quality that he possesses.
I think you need that arrogance sometimes,
I don't think so. I think it's the player now believing and understanding the different phases of their career, where they are now. It's someone who prides himself with quality. It's someone who says, I'm at a different level now. Such mistakes shouldn't be happening. It shouldn't be expected.
But you know what I mean by arrogance? It's like a Zlatan. Zlatan knows the caliber of player that he is.
Oh,
and he expects,
that kind of arrogance.
That arrogance where you know what you can bring and how you can impact the game. So I think we're seeing that from our players. From a Debza, you see it as well. You could say confidence, but I like to say arrogance because it's how you just demand so much greatness out of yourself and you're just trying to push your teammates around you.
I love it. So yeah, I mean...
it's arrogance in a good way. You know?
It's good arrogance.
You know, a lot of people, I don't know if at some stage you played with Andile Jali. Andile Jali had that thing.
Yes.
He doesn't care who says what. He knows he's a good player and he will deliver.
And he will deliver that. And sometimes we tend to you know, confuse the two. Because Andile, great human being. You know, Deb's a great human being. A whole lot of players are like that. And even with Zlatan, most people, they'll say, oh, what a great human being, you know. But on the field of play, it's because they understand where they are. They know what it takes to be there and what it means to sustain that, the higher level of football. And when we bring it to the teams as well, I think that's what Sundowns has done better. Hence the dominance that's been going on. Sundowns, their benchmark is not South Africa. It's not the Betway Premiership. The benchmark is conquering the world.
For sure.
Now at the Club World Cup, that's where they are. That's what they believe they are. And when as soon as they see other teams, seems like our conversations are saying we don't see Sundowns winning the league, that's where they're like, we'll show you, because our benchmark is not here. That's why when they come into the field of play, they know how to win. They do it with that aura, with that confidence to say, we are the team that we think we are. You know,
I think we've battered Mamelodi Sundowns well enough now, right? Are you satisfied?
So Kabuyelo, I've paid my dues.
He's paid it. He's done. And listen, you've got credit.
Going to win the league now?
Now you want Njemnyama to come for me now.
Exactly.
No,
Give me a headliner. Give me a headliner.
I'm staying out of this one. Palania, we're still there. I know where we lost it. I know where we lost it.
All right. Quickly, let's talk Orlando Pirates before we talk all things Engine Knockout Challenge. They've announced their coach in Ouaddou. I mean, I'm sure you've studied him. And yes, there are, of course, surprises here and there from certain people saying that this is a name that we didn't expect. But looking at his profile at Marumo Gallants, I think he handled 12 games, won 5, had 4 stalemates, and he lost 3, right? And you really look into how Marumo was playing at that spot. They were playing on a counter. So now, also you look at the resources that's different. You know, at the Marumo Gallants, udlala ka 2 balls nyana. Marakoko, Orlando Pirates.
Everything.
Everything is there, right?
No, man. I think one, coming to Marumo Gallants, to be honest with you, they've done tremendous work in improving, especially the running of the club. I had a chat with the chairman. People were like, "You, Chairman Marumo?" But I understand. No, then, I mean, as a child also, I think credit must go to him as well. He reached out at some point. He was with the coach. In fact, he reached out we settled our differences. You know,
Oh,
he
nice.
spoke about his shortcomings on how things happened between him and I and the club, actually, you know. And also as a child, I came back to him and said, listen, I really acknowledge that, which is very much big of him to do that as a father, you know, to come back and apologize. I also apologize from my part. And I think one would have asked, why are you apologizing? Because you felt like the team did you wrong and all of that. But I think also my part of it was how it panned out, you know,
Yes.
for it to be a media spectacle and all of those things. You kind of sense that, yes, you would have wanted things to be handled amicably in a different manner. So my apologies to that, to the chairman as well. And then when we moved on, we spoke about how the team has improved, you know, what he has done different. He spoke about how he started now also doing a lot of research when it comes to running football. You know, he's learning from other club owners in Europe and so forth, which is good, you know. And coming back to your question with regards to Orlando Pirates' new coach, I got the opportunity to have a chat with him. I think the last Soweto derby. It's coincidentally he was at the stadium, and one would wonder, hey, but hey, we're not
Dots
there.
are
We're not there.
connecting.
No, he came through because courtesy of Betway, he was invited. But it showed that the stars were aligning.
Yeah.
He loved that atmosphere. He loved the Soweto derby. But when I had a chat with him, he's one person who's very grounded, man. You know, he's someone who's more about the players more than anything else. He's more about improving the players. And he spoke about taking care of the livelihoods of the players in South Africa because he played at the highest level, played in the EPL, you know. He played in Ligue A as well in France. So he's someone who understands, you know, competitive football. At the same time, he understands what development is all about. So I think there's alignment. And when you talk about a new coach, I think most Pirates people, fans, players, administration as well, would take a leave from last season, well, the yesteryears when Coach Rivero came through, you know, because he came through as a relatively unknown coach, and we called him names. We
They
said
called
he's a
him a
plumber, he's
plumber,
this and that and whatnot. And look at the success that he accumulated with Orlando Pirates. When you see someone like the new coach right now, he's one coach that I think personally he's going to bring in a fresh, you know, perspective, and I'm very much confident. I don't know, I'm very positive about this coach, seeing what he did with Marumo Gallants.
For me, a massive surprise. I think nobody saw it coming, and I think the Pirates chairman, Dr. Evan Kosa, has got his ways of managing these things. He scoops everybody. I was surprised, but at the same time, I'm not the person who likes to judge coaches before they start. I said the same thing about Rivero. We didn't know much of him. And knowing what we know now, he was a roaring success at Pirates. I said the same thing about the Sundowns coach when he first came. The football was not easy on the eye and that kind of thing when you won nearly. But he has won the league. He took the team to the final of the Champions League. Those are good things.
Sure.
He has the Club World Cup now. And this Pirates coach, we have seen a little. I didn't really pay too much attention to him, at Marumo, because we tend to focus a little bit more on the so-called bigger teams. But from the few matches I've seen, there was a little bit of structure. He had to work with the limitations of the team that he was working with. Not really enough quality and the resources not quite there. I mean, I remember I watched that match where they beat Chiefs. You could see that is a team that is well coached, just that he didn't have enough time with the team. At Pirates is a different environment altogether. He will have to navigate around the back room, the behind the scenes stuff. Also, the tricky part also, he doesn't go there with his own people. He has to work with the people he finds there. How he imposes himself to the technical staff that he finds is another story. And also how the guys that he finds there welcomes him. Is another
It's
story.
very key.
They've signed players, obviously, before he arrived, you have to work with the players that he has there. But he will have a little bit more quality and resources to his staff.
No, I totally agree.
He will have a pre-season, he will have time to work. let's give him a chance.
Yeah, no,
you really never know.
I fully agree,
Preseason,
Chloe,
yeah.
when it comes to the coach. I think one thing that I've witnessed, which really impressed me the most, it's his mannerism, you know, especially in the technical area. He's one coach who's always backing instructions, you know, to the players. He's very close to the team. He's very close to the management as well, because I saw how he was very close to the chairman at Marumo. So he creates that buffer, you know, between the players and the management as well.
Yeah.
But one thing I loved the most is how he transformed Marumo to be a force to be reckoned with.
For sure.
You know, he took that team from nowhere where we felt like, hey, this team is going back to relegation and so forth.
Yeah.
And he turned Mangaung into a slaughter. Where it was a difficult time. I mean, even Orlando Pirates went down there and suffered a different, you know, fate when you got to just after beating Marumo 8, and then you go there, you lose. That's when you realize that there's something with this coach. So, like Mahlatse is saying, all we can do is support the coach.
Yeah.
But I personally feel that this was the best decision. Definitely the best decision. This is someone who's more familiar with the ins and outs of the team of South African football.
Yeah.
He's already coached. I mean, if you've coached half a season already in SA, you are already familiar with the territory. So it's not going to be virgin territory for him. The only difference is what Mahlatse is saying, that now you're going to a bigger institution where it's going to be too demanding. So how he handles the pressures, it's going to be a thing. I mean, now the Club World Cup already, coaches who are just being announced, they're already calling for the sack.
Yes,
It's tough. So hopefully
parents, even after a bad draw, you can't go to the garage and put full petrol.
that's the problem.
Those things of group hotel where you can do whatever. You can say we're building. There's no building there.
No,
But also, just
they
maybe just
fancy
lastly
their
on this issue,
painting.
I
Yeah.
also feel a little bit sorry for Coach Matangigas, you know. He finds himself in a very, very tricky situation. You know, what's going to happen? I mean, is he going to be an assistant coach forever or what? You know, I think, obviously I can't tell him what to do, but I feel maybe he may consider
Well,
a
the time
fresh
will
challenge
come.
somewhere.
Well, the time will come, Mahlatse. I personally feel that, yes, he was a head coach at some point, different clubs, Maritzburg, Golden Arrows, came to Orlando Pirates at some point. He had a stint as a head coach, you know, and then now he's back at being an assistant coach. Right now, I believe that, especially in football, you can be called to serve at a different space.
Yeah.
It's just a phase for you right now. Accumulate as much as you can in terms of experience, in terms of, you know, the ins and outs of how the system works. And I believe that he already knows that, you know, and when the time comes, it will avail itself. And I know that whether it's at Pirates, he's going to get the opportunity again. I know personally, it happens like randomly. It happened now towards the end of the season where they're like, hey, you are in charge. You know,
Yeah.
those moments, they'll come. It's all about whenever, I always say that chances always favor a prepared mind. You know, whenever he needs to be constantly ready, it's going to happen. And if it doesn't happen at Pirates, it's going to happen elsewhere. Coach Mangoba Mngqithi, we've seen it where Golden Arrows were like, hey, dude, we need saving. And, you know, whether he was ready for that moment, we don't know. But we'll see now the beginning of this new season. So I get your concerns where you want to see more South African coaches stepping out, exploring, and then being the head coach and taking the driver's seat. But also the honors lies with them in terms of saying, what challenges do I want to take up? And being honest with yourself personally to say, am I ready for these big challenges? Because those would be the driving factors for you to say, you know what, I'm going to step out. Coach Rulani has done it, where he said, I want to step away from Coach Pitso's shadows. I want to be a head coach. And when he got to Pirates, when the whole Zimbabwe situation happened, he was like, no, I want to be a head coach now. And once you're confident enough and you tell yourself that you are ready, then the only thing that we can do is to support you.
And then lastly, on the Pirates issue, I mean, there's expectations also on the youngsters. And I want to find out from you as to how do you think then they need to approach the next season, and what are you hoping to see from them, the likes of Yorile, Sesane, Rediopane, Nkota, I mean, Mbogazi as well. What are you expecting from them coming the new season, especially with a new coach?
Personally, I feel like the platform is there for them. They've been given, you know, so much resources the support. I think most importantly is the support and the trust.
Yeah.
You know, when you get into a big institution like this and then you get trusted to play big games, you know, you become the key player within the squad, that alone should be motivation for you to go out there and perform, you know.
Yeah.
And yes, much as we're saying they're still young, and I don't want to bring in the comparison every time, Mahlatse, of comparing Europe, your Yamals and everything. It's a different ball game. It's a different structure, a different platform when it comes to the development phases. It's different, you know.
Yeah.
However, I feel like the first season is gone. The challenge that I'm going to put out to these boys, I'm yet to see a player who's going to be consistent, regardless of your age, consistent like Themba Shikabala as well.
Oh.
Where you're going to go beyond 2 seasons, 3 seasons, 4 seasons, where you're consistent. And when we talk about consistency, maybe that's where the issue comes in, where people, they get confused. We are saying they need to be breaking boundaries, breaking records, shattering the ceiling. You know, we are saying good performances. Yes, you'll have bad moments. They'll be there. But all we are saying is every time, whenever you play, just show up. It might not be a good day for you, but we'll see.
Shouldn't only be at the derby, Shiva.
You know,
big
it
games.
cannot be. It cannot be
Yes.
only big games where we say these players are top players
Yeah.
this time, and then the next game against, with all due respect, with the relatively small teams, small games like you play your TS Galaxies, and by the way, it's a big team for me.
Yeah.
You play your Marumos, and then you don't show up. I want consistency. Where when we're saying consistency, it's good performances. You know, and when we say you are below par, it's just 1 or 2. You know, it's like with Shika. You take long to single out bad games from him. Even when you watch his game against Borussia, it wasn't a good game from him. But he was okay. For, you know, we know when we say the standards, we want him to be exceptionally good. But when he's having a subpar game, it's when he is relatively good. So he was okay. There were key moments, you know. Not that whole thing of one game, derby, you are good, and then the next game you disappear the entire game. We're like, oh, was he there? What's happening? And then you start doubting, you know, the ability. So the challenge should be consistency for me.
Yeah.
That's what the boys need to do. And when we say consistency, we're talking about their development phase, where they are taking it one game at a time. They are growing. They're having their personal challenges, their personal best, where they say, now I need to be more in terms of box entries for relay. I need to score more goals now. I need my numbers in terms of assists to go higher. TLP, I need to win those one-on-one duels. I need more clean sheets. You know, I need to probably score more goals as well, set pieces. You know, Nkota, my numbers need to improve in terms of assists. You know, I need to play 5 or 6 games, knowing that the numbers are giving what I am giving on the field of play. Then that's for me consistency when we're talking about players giving their numbers. That's what I need from
Because
them.
AFCON is coming.
Sure,
AFCON
and
is
World Cup, and World Cup. Who said these boys can't go to the World
They
Cup?
have to, yeah.
You know, it happens. That's why I always go back to chances always favor a prepared mind and set challenges.
Yeah.
Here in South Africa, Mahlatse, we have issues where we don't set boundaries. We don't set challenges. Same as what I was saying earlier on when I alluded to the fact that Sundowns, they set targets. They know how they want to win the league. They don't want to lose games. They want to go on invisible. You know, all those kind of things. Even as players, you need to set boundaries, set targets as well to say, benchmark, I need to go to the World Cup. I need to go to AFCON. I need to be dominating. It's the same chat that I had with Sipho when he was not playing. I said to him, that chance will come. But when you play, don't tell yourself that I want to be Orlando Pirates #1. Because that will happen automatically.
For sure.
If you tell yourself that I want to go to Bafana, I want to go to AFCON, I want to be there, counted amongst the greatest, your Ronwens, your Itus, then this is going to take care of itself. It's like Mamelodi Sundowns, again, they know that they want to conquer the world. By so doing, it means down here, they're going to clean. That's why now you find people saying there's Sundowns, then there's a gap, then there's the rest of us. It's because they've set that benchmark. So even with players, that's what we need to do. Set the benchmark and say, for example, leading goal scorer Mahlatse, when was the last time we had players hitting double figures like Collins Mbesuma? That should be the target now to say, hey guys, there's a Collins Mbesuma who has set the record and it's still there. I need to be that player who does that. As a goalkeeper, I need to say, I need to now push and say, what was the highest margin? He had a clean sheet. Let's see, maybe I can go 20. Maybe I can you'll never know, even though you don't get to the 20. But once you set those challenges, you'll be surprised at how much of a difference it's going to make to your game.
Yeah.
Because constantly you're playing with the mindset that's saying, target, how far am I from that goal? How far am I from, reaching that goal? And if you don't this season, you're like, okay, I'm coming back. Next season, I'm going to come back stronger because maybe I fell short. And that's where, the famous quote here, Coach Beats, where he says, I know where I lost the title, and then I'm coming back, I'm going to get it. Those personal challenges for him to say, you're putting it out to the universe. So those are the things that I feel we can do better.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right, so you might be wondering why Shiva is wearing blue. A few episodes ago, Linda Mtambo said that it's important to align with brands, and so he's representing Engine. It's a shade of blue. It's not the Engine blue,
Not
but
quite,
it's a shade of blue.
Yeah, I couldn't get that stronger blue, because I'm saving it for. You can imagine with Engine, we're traveling a lot.
Yeah.
We're going to the media launches, we're going to different provinces. So I'm saving the blue for for the media launches. But this one, I love it because you figured.
Listen,
It's a touch. Alignment is important. Mahlatse is here, is representing as well. So I'm happy with that blue. So we are aligned.
Everything is aligned. I mean, talk to us about the Engine Knockout, a competition that's so dear to all of us as South Africans, not only for the players, but also coaches as well, who come up and really show us what they made of. I mean, so much anticipation is set right now for Cape Town. What has the conversation been, especially because you were at the launch down that side in Cape Town not long ago?
Yeah, it's exciting. Again, credit must go to Engine as corporates, because we always urge corporates to support South African football, and I know it has become a constant battle where we need to be marketable, we need to be focus in terms of how this brand aligns to the product that we're trying to sell and so forth. And for Engine to do it for over 2 decades, it's simply amazing. I'm a product of the Engine Knockout Challenge myself. I'm sitting here with so much pride when we talk about Engine, because I got the opportunity to play the tournament, and amongst the great players that are playing in Europe now, amongst the players that are playing for Bafana now, so this is one opportunity where, as a youngster, you really do to really play in that, because it prepares you for competitive football, and personally I feel like this is one of the biggest tournaments that could have happened, for our youth development structures, mainly because of the platform, and not only because it supports only boys only. It's also it's double-sided. It's both genders, and we've seen how Mamelodi Sundowns ladies have benefited from that when they went on to win CAF. Most of the players, they had played Engine. We saw with Banyana during the WAFCON, most of the players had played Engine. And it's something beautiful to witness. And now coming to this year's edition, I'm mentioning a whole lot of players. I'm mentioning the teams that have benefited, Bafana and Banyana and Sundowns and so forth. And it's high time that we emphasize on you being the Diski legend, because we've seen your Ronan Williams, and I know we're talking about players that are far-fetched, but if we bring it quicker, fast forward to the recent success, I mean, you look at him and you're like, wow, this is a player 3 seasons ago, he was playing Engine. And when I witnessed that at School of Excellence, never have I ever imagined that this is a player that's going to, rise to the occasion and be the player that he is. And credits to also, the coaches that have worked with these youngsters. You look at Stellenbosch, the players that won the AFCON under-20, Tyler Smith at the back. This is one boy who was defender of the tournament at Engine. I saw he was defender of the tournament at Erica Park, where we are heading now for the first encounter. And when you look at all of that, you think to yourself like, wow, what is really happening? With South African football, it's truly remarkable. We're growing. There's a beautiful story, Khopolang Taunyan. He was referee of the tournament at Engine, and then the following season, He becomes defender of the tournament, Kaizer Chiefs. He wins Engine, and then he goes to Kosafa under 20, wins Kosafa. He goes to AFCON, he wins AFCON. What a story, man. And all of that, it happened because he came in as a referee and said, wow, I want to be a footballer. I want to change, and I promise you I'm going to come back and win this tournament, and I promise you I'm going to do wonders with this tournament. So I'm excited with this year's edition, Clauiee. I'm not going to lie to you because, wow, Cape Town has given us Emil Vetboy. I remember getting to Cape Town, and I don't have Twitter like you, Mahlatse. So I posted the fella go influencer shit. But I posted on Instagram. Because the first day I got to Erica Park last year, I saw this young sensation. I'm like, who's this kid? They're like, Emil Vetboy, first game. I was like, this boy is going to be player of the tournament. And mind you, as ambassadors, we have no say. Because there's national selectors of coaches led by Coach Duncan Clauiee. So we have no say. And I'm speaking to him, I'm like, this boy is going to be player of the tournament. A 15-year-old dominating that tournament. Went on, it did wonders. Posted, I was like, Emil Vetboy, remember the name. And to see this boy going to Chelsea, you know, to see this boy playing in the PSL at that age, my word, he's one of many when it comes to Engine Knockout Challenge.
100%. And I'm interested to talk about as well, because your career is also quite interesting. I mean, you were an infield player, bro, and then you went on to be a goalkeeper. So you, from referee to playing, clearly it's normal, it happens, right? But I mean, the importance of having such tournaments for youngsters and really making sure that players don't disappear within the system. Because so many times, Shiva, where you look at rugby, you look at cricket, and you see that they will be talking about a 7-year-old, a 13-year-old, and saying that this will be a future Protea player, this will be a future Springbok player. So why do you think it's important for us as well in South Africa to make sure that we're looking after them at such a young age so that we continue to also monitor their progress?
Yeah, I think it's very, very, very important. It's very key. Not only for the progress of the player, but also for the national team setup. I've seen how Belgium under Martinez, Roberto Martinez, the former coach, that's what they used to do, where they profile players at a very young age, where they have a pool of like 70 to 150 players within the system. You know, different age groups where they know that there's a Clauiee somewhere. We're busy profiling him. Let him cook. It's fine. But whenever the time is ready, we don't hesitate. So that alone, it takes away the element of we have a crisis. Whenever there's certain injuries in key positions. I remember we've emphasized on that, and I had a chat with you, Mahlatse, about that when Ouaddou got injured. And there were issues where South Africa was on a standstill to say, yo, we have a goalkeeping crisis. But we didn't know that we have, you know, Ronan Williams, we had your Sipho Chinese, we had, you know, your Sage, we had a whole lot of goalkeepers, you know, that were coming up. So that alone, it gives the opportunity, you know, to widen the pool. You know, and not only for the national team, but also for clubs. You know, it minimizes their scouting, you know, reach, where they don't have to go, you know, the extra length. Everything has been done for them. But it's at their disposal. All they have to do is to send their scouting departments to check the progress of these players whenever they're playing these tournaments. And I love what Engine has done this year, especially. It started last year, but this year I think the emphasis is more on the profiling of the players in terms of the background, because we tend to focus more on, you know, the footballing side of things, the talent that we always say we are blessed with in abundance. However, we neglect the fundamental aspect of a human being, you know, when it comes to a footballing setup. We don't take care of the psychological aspect of our players in South Africa, the emotional side of things, the livelihood of a player, where it becomes now more difficult in terms of integrating them in the bigger leagues, you know, where now this player, we don't look at the culture shock. I'm going to sign a player, for example, who's coming from the rural areas, bring them to the big lights. And when I sign them, it's just signing, I'll see you at training. But I don't worry about the culture shock of the player. How are you finding this, the move? How's family at home? How can we assist you in molding you into a big player? What does this player want? You know, so with Engine now, we started programs also as ambassadors. We're not there on the field of play just to take pictures and smile. And it's not about that. There's the groundwork that goes into the tournament whereby There's mentorship programs. We do
Nice.
workshops with the players and the coaches as well, and the club owners. So you find that part of the ambassadorship panel, we have Coach Thabo Sinong, who's a FIFA accredited coach now, who does workshops with the coaches. And then from the players' perspective, I get to speak to the players, and not only from the field of play only, but we also try to emphasize more on everything that happens outside of the field, especially for players from Mahlatse, because you look at issues like injuries, you look at issues like, where you lack parental support. How do you cope? How do you change all those things? So those are the things that we look at in terms of documenting those things and making sure that we create a platform where teams, players, and parents, they get to benefit from this tournament, not only on the field of play in terms of enhancing careers, it also benefits outside of the field of play as well.
Yeah.
Talking about profiling of players, I once had a discussion with the late Mhlongo. He was in Belgium at some stage, and the country took a conscious decision of going to look for young players.
Yeah.
And I guess that's where a tournament like Engine comes in. They found Eden Hazard, they found Mphallele, they found Benteke, Lukaku, Thibaut Courtois, Witsel, and all those, that golden generation of Belgium that went to, I think, was a quarterfinal or semi-final for World Cup.
Yeah.
And you really need to be intentional into how you are going to look for players.
100%.
And in our South African perspective, a tournament like Engine plays that role where young kids are there. The good ones will always come to the top,
Sure.
and the clubs can come and pick them. The issue becomes what happens from there on, so that they must keep on progressing, because most of them fall by the wayside because maybe they go to the wrong environment.
Yeah.
If you're lucky, like Vet Boy, who goes to a right environment,
Sure,
and gets given opportunities.
Yeah.
It's the only way to go about it, because clubs don't normally do proper scouting.
Yeah.
But so tournament like this can fill that gap.
It
of
really
trying to
does.
find exceptional young players
Sure.
who can progress and ultimately go to play for the national team.
And I think credit must also go to our SAFA TD, Walter Steinbock, as well. He has done a tremendous work, because he's part and parcel of the tournament. He's always there at the tournament. He encourages the junior national team coaches, whether, Banyana, Coach Dr. Desri is always there as well. We're going to miss her now because of the WAFCON, of course, but she's one person who's always there. And the reason why I speak highly of the TD, or Walter Steinbock, is because he once spoke about vision. I think it was Vision 2026 and 2030, and it's so good to see that we are seeing the rewards of that. He spoke about it a couple of years back, and ever since he's done that, there's a pipeline now. There's consistency, where we're seeing these under-17 players now graduating to be solid players that are playing at the under-20 level, and most of these players now. One of those days where I'm watching under-20 and I'm shocked. I'm like, what's happening? Who's this and whatnot? Because remember, back in the days, we used to dominate when it comes to junior level. We used to dominate to a point that World Cup, it was mandatory. We were always there, Sure. And then when I saw the AFCON squad, and bulk of those players are players that have played these junior tournaments from under-17, and most of them, they played Engine consistently, and the top ones at Engine, they went on to get promoted to the first team. They've made, appearances. We're talking about Mhlongo Pili. When he left Amazulu, that's the funny story that happened with Mhlongo Pili. One weekend, we were watching him, Engine Knockout Challenge. He's playing for Amazulu. And then the following week, he got snapped up by Stellenbosch. He was playing Engine Knockout Challenge, Cape Town edition.
Sure.
And that's when we were like, there's something about this player. The reason that now there's player movement also with development players. We've seen players moving from TS Galaxy, Kaizer Chiefs to TS Galaxy, Stellenbosch to Mamelodi Sundowns, and these are national assets. So now you can tell that there's scouting, and the fact that with Engine as well, there's national selectors and there's coaches who are sitting there and identifying these players, both male and female, not only for teams, but also for national team progression. It says a whole lot. But to come back to what Mahlatse is emphasizing on, I love how we've seen a number of players who came from amateur ranks within these teams coming to Engine. You know, Harishela from I think it's Northern Cape, Kimberley. They had 3 players that got signed by Mamelodi Sundowns who are doing fantastic, you know. So you have players that get the opportunity not only to change their lives in terms of national team, but also to get scouted by other development teams. That's where the pipeline continues. So I would urge that we need to emphasize more on that, more scouting on the ground. And it's also people like you here at the Sports Arena, Mahlatse, you know, you guys and Vision View TV as well, you're giving us the opportunity, you know, to showcase these talents, you know, and which is truly commended from us. So thank you guys also for this opportunity. That's how we also get to grow the legacy. We want to go beyond the 22 years that we've served as Engine in development football, and to say this time around, we want to create an opportunity where we give, you know, a youngster an opportunity to be a Diski legend and go beyond. We've seen Aphelele Teto playing from Engine and going all the way to Scotland, and I believe now he's going back to Scotland because there's accumulated, maybe the visa issues have been sorted. But not only that, Van Veek is playing in Austria now from Stellenbosch. You know, Kabini as well, one of the players that played in Engine, and he's playing abroad. So the numbers are growing, not only in the PSL, not only the national team, but also, you know, abroad. Now we're having players, Mihlali Mayambela, he's our product as well. So, man, the list is growing endless, and yeah. Man.
It definitely is, and it's great to see. And one thing about Shiva, when he speaks about youngsters, it's not because the camera's on. This is the same conversation we'll have when there's no cameras on, and also amongst peers. And I say this because I remember we were talking to Sisana, it was you and Happy Jele, and just I was impressed in how it literally becomes a brotherhood. Yes, there's that age gap, but you guys literally take on these youngsters, and literally it's not always just talking at them, but sometimes it's just listening to them. Ndwana, how is it for you? The importance of that.
So the importance of guys like development is very key, and I think the reason why it's very close to my heart for me, it's because I've walked that path. You know, I was once that kid in the development where I didn't know whether I was coming or going, but someone believed in me. You know, there was a player. I remember having conversations with Senzo when he was at the first team, who would come down and encourage us, like, hey, first team football is like this. You listen to that with not only with envy, but with that eye that says, I want to be there, but how do I get better? You know, how do I improve? You know, you take lessons from that. You take things that will encourage you and help you grow. And I often say that it doesn't make sense if you were afforded the opportunity. Someone gave you the platform, you know. It doesn't make sense if you don't pass on that baton to the next generation, you know. And that's why, personally, it's really, really close to my heart. It's very key. I love it. I love the work. And not only because I'm saying this because I'm an ambassador for Engine, but any work, any person that knows me, whenever you call me up for any development work, I'll always show up, because you start them while they're still young. You know, I always emphasize on the fact that I am the person that I am today because of someone's influence when I was young. You know, had that person didn't touch my life as a young person, maybe things would have turned differently. So the little that I can do also in changing one's life, I know that eventually in the future, I'm going to see something different. I was so happy to see, excuse me, one of the goalkeepers at Orlando Pirates first team. He also plays DDC. This is one player I personally scouted. We were playing Engine KZN edition Midlands, and I remember having these conversations. It was during COSAFA as well, so I was with your McFish, because they are COSAFA ambassadors. So they're like, hey, what's happening with goalkeepers? We're not seeing goalkeepers here. And then I said, no, but I'm seeing 1, 2, 3. I'm seeing 1, 2, 3. And then I ended up seeing this boy at, I had a chat with a couple of goalkeeper coaches at Pirates and management as well. And this boy, he's at Pirates now. For me, when I see him, it's not a thing of, oh, wow, I need, you know, the credit and all of that. It's one of my good deeds that said I've managed to change one's life. And so what you always see with myself, with Happy, with Figo, with the other gents, you know, whenever we speak to the youngsters, we've taught ourselves that we're gonna adopt these kids. They are our babies now, you know. I speak a lot with Mohau. Mohau's story also was very, very touching for me, because at some point when the other players, his peers were getting promoted, he was injured to a point where he felt like giving up as well, you know. And I had a chat with him, encouraged him that it's going to come through, and I'm so happy that it happened for him. One player that I'm constantly having chats with right now, who needs a lot of love, you know, lots and lots of it, is Rasibocha, you know, massive talent. He played Engine as well, and then he got to Orlando Pirates, massive talent. And when he thought, from Supersport, when he thought things were going to happen for him, they didn't happen the way he expected, and now he's out injured with a bad injury. And it's good to see that he's in good spirits. I'm constantly checking up on him. And he's highly motivated, you know, he's getting the support from the club, from everyone. So it goes back to what I was saying, Mahlatse, that what I missed during my time was the love, you know, from the people that you need, who are around you, the people who are just going to ask you and say, are you okay? You know, what do you need? How do we support you? How do we help you grow? You know, these are the things that these youngsters need. They just need that love, just to take care of, you know, the psychological aspect and the emotional side of things. Because with talent, we cannot dispute that. These boys are very talented. These boys and girls are talented. The only thing that we need is just to avail ourselves, just to mentor them the right way, and just offer them the tools, you know. We're not saying they're not going to face any hardships or anything, but what a better way to come across that if you have the tools. So that's why it's important also with Engine, when they offer us these programs, the mentorship programs, where we do workshops and have these conversations, you know, engage with the players, with the parents, with the coaches, so that we get to understand the dynamics of what it means to be a professional footballer on and off the field, because we tend to focus on the field only, and then off the field we don't emphasize on the fact of how you need to behave, how you deal with issues of rejection. Some players, they need to understand that they're not all going to go to the first team at that age, but how do you manage those expectations within them? How do you say to them, yes, maybe we are saying that, but you can prove us wrong. I was deemed as one of those players. No one knew that I would get to the first team. They always saw other goalkeepers, you know, that they were deemed to be the top keepers in the development. But because I had that drive, that motivation, I had to go the longer route of going elsewhere, and then Pirates recognizing to say, oh, this is one of our players. Oh, then he needs to come back. So maybe these players also, those are the dynamics that they can take, but they would never know if us who have walked that path, we don't share these experiences with them. So I would encourage that the former players also, and not only the former players, but everyone, the likes of Mahlatse, because he's one person that I respect the most. He knows that whenever he speaks, there can be talks out there. And not that I'm buying his face. He knows that I always say it every time, that if there's one person that I always listen to with that attentive eye and ear as Mahlatse, because he knows, he has walked that path, and he understands what he speaks about. So people like him, they need to come out. People like BBK, the people that are seasoned, who have seen it all. You've witnessed the demise of other top players. You've seen players, you know, who struggle with certain things. You've walked that path, and you only know as far as you've traveled according to age and maturity. You're older than most of us, so you know that. So you know, even in the broadcasting space.
Put together.
But it's the same thing, you know.
You gotta go there.
And it's the credit to Mahlatse, because he constantly does that. He constantly does that. So I so wish that and people like Mahlatse, they can also join us, you know, during the tournament here, Engine, where...
He said he's coming to Joburg.
It's so nice, because seeing Mahlatse,
I told Mama that I'm coming there.
Yes, it motivates, you know. But no, thank you so much, Mahlatse. I hope that it's not going to end here. You're going to continue also serving this nation, because when we talk about serving also, you're one of the guys that are serving us with purpose as well. So thank you so much. So please continue. Don't stop. Your flowers. He's getting his flowers. When you can smell them.
Water the flowers. Remember what Pigo said? You got to water these flowers.
I need a tissue.
Oh, you need tissue? Hold on. Let me get it.
Brandon is going to mess up my makeup now.
He's going to make a chocolate mint blush now. But yeah, to add to that quickly.
Yeah. No, I wanted to ask Brighton a different question related to Pirates.
Okay.
It's quite an issue that I think almost, maybe not almost, but contributed to the derailing of Pirates last season. How must Pirates deal with the Munapule and Saleng's issue going forward?
Sure. It's a difficult one, and I wish I had context, as to what's happening, within the whole situation. Especially personally with me, the involvement with the club, it's more on the production side of things. And I try as much as I
You're a
can.
broadcaster.
Yes, I need to learn from the best, so I can't be.
He's a broadcaster.
So I cannot. So when you speak to me, let's speak about your Bucks camp. Let's speak about trip and pass. Let's speak about Giants. Those the massive production. Those are the things that I tend to focus more on, and not only because there's limitations, right, Mahlatse? I think personally for me, it was a personal choice where I said, I've walked that path on the field of play. I don't want to be involved there as yet. And I'm not closing that window. Maybe I'll be a coach one day. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll be something at the club. I don't know. Maybe it's going to happen. But I'm happy to serve right now where I'm serving at the club, when it comes to production, which I'm truly grateful to the team for the opportunity and for the production as well, for giving me the opportunity to explore and grow. Now, when it comes to the matter Yasaleng, the issue becomes what is being said out there versus reality. And I believe that both parties know what's the truth, and us sitting here, I'm sitting from a speculative point of view saying, oh, maybe I hear they saying he had signed a contract, it's issues with his contract, he wants a raise and whatnot. And I think personally it would be unfair of me to comment in terms of how one should have acted or one should have done that. But what we can do, I think, Mahlatse, and I speak when I say what we can do, I'm generalizing to teams when it comes to situations like this. Transparency, I think, is very key. From the onset, don't let it drag. Don't let it drag where now there's speculations, because I think that alone, I know how Pirates, especially how the chairman loves, to do things in using his own discretion, and there's, privacy and all of that. And we respect that. We respect how every house has its own rules and approach of things.
100%.
But if I were to advise, I think the advice would be transparency from both parties, by the way, because now Mahlatse is saying this. Now Brighton is saying this as a player, and it opens a room of now speculations where people will come up with things, whether they're true or not, and you're still not addressing those things. It starts as that cancer. It starts as a small thing, and then it grows into something huge where maybe with a different approach and a transparent approach from the onset, it would have just squashed everything, and then things would have been handled in a different manner. And again, emphasis, I don't know who's wrong, who's right. I don't know who said what, who did what. I'm sitting from a layman perspective where I'm not privy of the details fully, but I think it's a message to everyone within the industry, within whether football or broadcasting space. When you get into situations like this, let's be transparent, out with it, and we address the issue, find ways of trying to address it, but amicably, amicably. Let's always try to find
each other.
Yeah, let's find each other. Let's find common ground. And because the more you drag it, it becomes a big issue where now it's who said this, who did this, who should have done this, who shouldn't have. And unfortunately, when the elephants, the giants, the bulls, when they fight, it's the grass that suffers, and right now, that's sadly, we are suffering because it's a big institution, it's big talent, and who's suffering? It's the custodians of football, which are the fans. Now they're being robbed of witnessing great talent. But not only that, as a nation, we've been robbed of great talent because We spoke about AFCON, we spoke about the World Cup, we spoke about the ambitions of winning titles as well as the Pirates as well, you know. We've been robbed of that. So I just personally wish and hope that there'll be amicable resolution to this, so that we see Saleng on the field of play and doing what he loves, and we see the club supporting him as well, you know, continuing and winning titles as a team.
All right. You know one thing about Shiva, we never profile him, and it's always quite interesting. We've never.
I get paid to talk too much,
like,
so you can imagine.
We.
So, Brother, I get paid to talk.
I wonder how much they pay you, because look,
It must be good money.
he's going. I think Mama must send us the invoice.
No. For you guys, never. For you guys, I'm at home. Whenever you guys, and again, so it goes with you guys also, how you've set the environment. You know, it's very welcoming. Your hospitality has always been very welcoming. You know, I only get to be like this when I'm comfortable and when I'm with people that I'm free with. Other than that, I'm feeling the term these days. It's these days. I'm an ambivert. I'm an ambivert.
Okay.
So apparently I'm an introverted extrovert or an extroverted introvert.
Yes, sir.
Whichever the way it is.
But
so
it's
apparently,
a mixture of both.
Yeah, it's a mixture of both. Where when I'm comfortable.
Let me Google it.
No, he's right. I've heard this
Is
term
it?
before.
Yeah,
Yes.
whenever I'm out and about, when I'm comfortable, this
Yeah.
is what you're going to get when I'm happy. But when it's not to make sure I get to Lina and reserve.
Keep to yourself.
So credit must go to you guys. If people don't know, beyond these screens, the great relationship that I have with you guys, I think you guys, you part of the...
I've been seeing you a lot lately.
And I'm going there. And I'm going there because you know why I say that. It's you guys who gave me the platform and the confidence to grow into this space, you know, and it wouldn't be fair of me to let this opportunity pass me. I want to give you guys also the credit of the role that you guys played in shaping me. You know, I remember when I started doing radio with Vision View, you held me by your hand and you were like, Shiva, don't worry, I'll take you through the ropes. So when you hear me talk football, talk sports, people, they're questioning me, hey, you talk Formula One, you talk basketball. We've been doing it throughout. It's Clauiee, you know. And then when it comes to Mahlatse, has helped me a lot when it comes to the TV space and the journalistic instinct and knowing the boundaries, where to go and what not. You know, he needs to get the credit because this is one man who has shown me the way, this way. This is how you're going to survive longer in this space, you know. And thank you so much, guys. I'm still learning from you guys. I'm still learning from you guys.
Shiva, no, credit to you as well, though, because it's one thing to want to do something or have opportunities and not take them.
And
you take
transitioning.
everything. Yes,
Transitioning.
literally. You take everything with so much grace. You literally never say no to anything. Like, if you don't know something, you always want to learn.
I never say no to anything. People are going to come to me and be like, but what's what I want to know?
Because also the one thing that he hasn't done, which is a trap that a lot of former footballers fall into, is to sit and expect things to come to you.
Yes.
Unfortunately, in the world, it's a tough world out there.
Yeah.
Nobody owes you nothing, even us
That's
or even
right.
you.
Yeah.
Even me, I'm employed by my company. They can replace me tomorrow.
Yeah.
I owe them nothing, they owe me nothing. So if you played football or you did a job somewhere, the day you retire, you need to be out there and knock at doors and ask for opportunities. And that's the trap
His
where
hunger.
footballers fall into most of
That's
the
why
time.
we are influencers now. That's how we see each other.
Look at you now. Listen, we are so unruly right now, but we're going to leave now, okay? It's been absolutely fantastic having you with us, Shiva. As always, you know, your family. I'm hoping that Masandawana nitholile clarification, nijabulile.
But he still doesn't want to say who's going to win the league this season.
Usjelile, what do you mean?
Why are we not talking about who's taking engine this time around? Because people, they must make sure they come to Erica Park. They must come to Erica Park this weekend because it's going to be a beautiful one, man. Erica Park is happening.
Yeah.
It's going to be the 27th until the 29th. great entertaining football in Cape Town, and then from there we go to KZN, which is the first week of July.
Yes, sir.
All the details are going to be shared, and then we bring it here in Joburg. That's where Mahlatse, I'm going to be sitting with him. Joburg never disappoints as well. It's a city of gold.
Yeah.
You know, East London. Why do I forget East London? For the very first time, Engine, we're taking it to East London, which is, wow, amazing. I'm looking forward to that.
The Eastern Cape is my other home now.
And not you alone. I'm going to ask you.
I'm done, sir.
So yeah, I want to come to East London. I'll speak to Mama off air to book my flights.
No,
I'm
Mahlatse,
coming to
whatever
East
that
London.
needs. From my
Mama,
budget,
you must do your work.
You won't be disappointed. No, Mahlatse, you need to.
Yeah, we're coming to East London.
Chloe, when are you joining us?
No, listen, I'll be here definitely for Joburg. East London, I'll let you know. Mama,
She was PE.
Mama, make East London happen, okay?
She was
You'll
PE.
never know who's watching, eh? You'll never know who's watching. Maybe engine reps are watching now. They're like, maybe. I'm just saying, I'm just putting it out there.
Anything is
Yes,
possible,
and
right?
it becomes very hard. It would be nice to have an addition of, other ambassadors also. Just saying.
Hint,
But,
hint, wink, wink.
Yeah. Just putting it out there.
Listen, guys, let's get out of here. It's been absolutely great. Thank you so much for giving us your time. We truly appreciate it. And we're hoping that, of course, you enjoyed this conversation as much as we did. From us on the Arena Sports Show, it is cheers, goodbye. See you on the next one.
Ciao.